All right, and we are live. So, first of all, guys, the first one to hear this, please type in the chat if you can hear me well, you can see me well, and then we'll carry on with this live stream. So, please write in the chat if audio is good, video is good, you can see me, you can hear me. Anyone, please? I know there is a delay, but I'll wait. All right, guys. Typing in the chat just yes, I can hear you. Sound is great, something like that. Nice. Thanks. Good luck. Appreciate that. So let's get started. So today is yet another great live stream, and I want to remind you that in my live streams it's a live Q&A session. So it's your opportunity to ask questions. And today we are talking about leadership motivation in project management. So how to be a great leader for your team, how to motivate team, how to navigate some difficult cases, anything will work. So please think about your questions, write them down in the comments, and I'll be answering them as much as I can. But please provide some details. And for those of you who is just like joining for the first time, you don't know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Dmitro Nizhbetsky. I'm a project management mentor for more than 12 years already, and I'm the author of this practical project management book and the host at the IT Project Managers YouTube channel, where we are almost getting to 50,000 subscribers. So, this is a bit about me, about my experience. I'll be talking more about some leadership concepts in a moment. But for those of you who is joining right now, again, this is a live Q&A session. So please uh, provide your questions, write them in the comments, in the chat, anywhere where you can do that, and I'll answer them. So right now, I'll give you a few critical ideas about leadership that I usually teach in my Career Accelerator program for IT project managers. So let me share these few slides with you. So leadership and motivation for IT project managers. I have a very fancy definition of what a project manager must do or what's the role of a project manager. And it sounds like this. The role of a project manager is to motivate people to follow the selected project management approach. And it essentially means to tell them what to do and how to do that. And they should be happy about following your lead and your advice into doing this work. Now, if you decompose what's like encoded in this little sentence is that, okay, A, you should select a project management approach. B, you should sell the benefits of this approach compared to not doing the project in a structured way, not following a framework, not following the workflows to control the work. At the same time, like the second part, you need to motivate them. And here's a critical thing that it's kind of obvious, but I think it's worth mentioning it time and time again. Like we as project managers, we shouldn't, at least like in theory, like spend our efforts and energy on doing the project work, doing the work required to produce deliverables. Instead, we should focus on organizing the work and motivating people to do this work because they have the expertise, they have the knowledge, the skills, and all the good stuff. So, on the contrary, if you don't motivate your team to do the work, to do their best, then you end up doing a lot of stuff around the project, trying to be the jack of all trades and plugging all the holes in this project management or in this project, and you start sitting on all meetings, making all the decisions, like micromanaging people because they don't perform. Let's call it this way. And then such projects are usually at huge risk, and they usually fail at one way or another. So that's why it's critical that you spend all your energy and efforts and all your skills on motivating people to use their expertise. And my idea is that you need to delegate everything. You should implement the project management plan by the hands and brains of your team members. So that's the overarching idea of this whole session and whole introduction. Now I would like to tell you one little story. So in 2002, Google made an experiment where they decided that, okay, we'll fire all the managers, we don't need them. We have these motivated, self organized engineers, and they can continue working and produce the great products on their own. I don't remember the exact duration, but I think this experiment failed like on after 30 days or 40 days, because it appeared that all engineers had a lot of questions, and all these questions went directly to executives. Again, at that time, Google wasn't that big giant company that is right now, but anyways, there were hundreds of people, and they started asking questions about what they do, how they do it, but also they were producing a lot of questions about their career. They needed some advice on how to proceed with their skills, with their knowledge, with some conflicts with other team members, and so on. So in the end, they returned all the managers, but they decided, okay, managers are critical, project managers are needed, but what makes a great project manager? And they collected a lot of data from their work, from their employees, with a lot of surveys, and came up with these eight. I think there is another version of this where there are 10 items on the list, but eight behaviors that a project manager must do consistently to be a great manager. And from what you see here is that number one is good coach. Your team members, your employees need a coach. They want to be led somewhere. They want to develop, but they need something to attain to. They want some they need some guidance. And when you connect these two, like number one to number six, they need help with career development. So they actually need a good career development coach who would educate them on how to proceed with their lives, with their careers, and all the good stuff. Now, number two, empower team and does not micromanage. And that's where I started. People don't want to be told what to do. Instead, they want to use their skills and knowledge and expertise to realize their ideas, to show their expertise. And one thing that I would like to set in stone, like as a quote, your team members, they don't see themselves as team members, as employees, as, I don't know, anyone else. They see themselves as professionals. So whenever you start treat them differently from that, like a professional with certain skills and aspirations, you lose them. Okay, next we have like general human being relationships. And this is like number three, you should express interest and concern in their success and personal well-being. And then like number four, you should be productive. You should be like leading by example. But the idea is that you should be an expert in your field. So if you ever come to a team and you are not like displaying this confidence as a project manager that you know how to organize the work so that it brings benefits to this team, it makes their life, their work better, then it will be hard to motivate them. Then number 5, you should be a good communicator. That goes across everything, but in project management, like it's a must-have. Like you should communicate clearly, you should set goals, you should set visions and stuff like that, and it should be concise and like without any buzzwords or corporate jargon that everyone is using right now. All right. Number 6, we talked about career development. Number 7, clear vision and strategy. In our case, as project managers, we should select and sell the benefits of the project management approach or framework that we are going to use. And our main idea is that we need to prove to the team once again that this approach will lead to success. And once we get to success of the project, they will get benefits from their work. All right, and number 8, it's more for Google, but they want to have like in manager, they want to see technical skills, and that's I think the root cause of this constant questioning whether an IT project manager need to have technical skills. But you need to understand this comes from Google, from tech giants. So in all other companies, it's not that important. But I would say that there is a caveat in terms of, okay, these are the skills from technical perspective of a project manager. So in this case, it's all about how to use the tools that we use, like Jira, Asana, Azure DevOps, maybe some other tools that will help organize the work and bring transparency to the team. All right, guys, before I move on, I would like to remind you that this is a Q&A session. If I'm talking about some concepts, you don't understand them, or you want some examples, real life application or something like that, that's the opportunity. Write the questions in the comments, in the chat. I will try to answer them all. Maybe you have some use cases where you would like to know how to address them through the lens of what we're discussing here. So feel free to write all your questions right now. Once I finish this introduction part, I'll switch to answering your questions. So for now, let's move on, because these concepts, like these behaviors, they fall very well into many theories that we use, like to motivate and lead people. So, for example, this hierarchy of needs, everyone's like should know it. Someone may say it doesn't work, someone say it does work. I believe it does work. For example, you will see that all these levels are present. For example, if you get an entry level engineer or quality assurance engineer into your team, they will be very interested in getting through these all stages. You will notice it from day one. They will be scared to lose their job. They will be scared about their performance, so they will want to get feedback. Once they get the feedback that they are doing their work well, then they will start looking for this socialization, love, and affection of friends inside the workplace environment. After that, they most probably will move to career development phase, where they will start thinking about, okay, can I become a senior level engineer? Can I become team lead and stuff like that? And then like self-actualization is a different topic. Usually we don't see it on the level of our projects. But one simple change that, for example, you may make to ensure that this theory works is that, okay, these are economical layers. They are not about really getting food and getting the shelter. It's about getting the means and have the job security and income security to get all of this, to buy all that. So once you start thinking about it this way, all right, then what's happening here is that these people crave for a career development coach at the workplace, and that should be you, because they need to get through all these stages. They need to ensure that they they are safe at their current work, they are safe to get another job if they need it, and only after that they will get the social and self-esteem levels, which will be big motivators for them. All right, and if you think about like other theories like Harrisburg's hygiene theory, we see all the same principles that we will want to have more responsibility, we will want more recognition, we want safe environment, we need money. All of that falls down into the behaviors that people expect from you at the workplace as their project manager. And last but not least, like one thing that lots of people don't maybe understand, maybe don't really appreciate, is that uh, every person that you have on the team around you, like in the workplace in general, they are on different levels of leadership as it relates to you. In other words, you have different level of influence on those people. And if you want to dive deep into this topic, I really recommend the Bible on leadership, the 5 levels of leadership by John Maxwell. I read this book like 5 times, so highly recommend it. And the key idea is that whenever you join any team, whenever you start working with a group of people, you start from this position leadership level where you can influence people just because you have a title of a manager, which comes with some abilities to impact their work and life. And the main idea is that as quickly as possible, you want to get out from this level because this is the worst and most inefficient way to lead and motivate people. And where a lot of people in our space get it wrong is that they assume that they are by default, if they are not managers, they are by default leaders. So they start right away jumping into building a friendly environment, uh, like assigning responsibilities to people, like maybe assigning some tasks and education to people to show that you care and stuff like that. But no, the problem is that you must first gain the permission to become the leader of that group or that specific person. And in most cases it will be different like actions that you will have to do to get that permission. And you must do whatever it takes to get as many people from this position leadership level to permission leadership level. So, in practice, what does it mean? So, you have to prove to those people that you are an expert, you are a leader with integrity, you keep your word, for example, you treat them as people, you care about their well being, you care about their professional development. And once they feel that, they will say, okay, this guy, this girl is okay. I will listen to him, her. I will follow their advice, and maybe something good will happen to me. Because they are not like bossing around. They're not saying that I'm a project manager. That's why you should be like following whatever I say. You should do the tasks, blah, 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 blah. Only after that you can start delegating responsibilities, assigning team leaders, start doing changes in the project management environment as a whole, starting changing their roles, their responsibilities, all that good stuff that will lead them to production level. This is the performance level. This is where they start performing to their best because they started to see that you can provide them something of value, which will teach them how to drive their career forward. Uh, one thing that you need to understand that lots of people will still stay on this permission level. Just a few will go into production level because your ideas, your vision of the work ethics will coincide, and they will want to be experts, like top experts. That's why they will get to production level. And from that group, just a few people, like if you have a group of like 20 people, maybe one or two of them will decide, okay, I want to be a leader myself. So I will follow this project manager, you, to learn the leadership, management principles, soft skills, so that I can lead my own sub team, or maybe become a team leader or even a project manager in the future. And maybe out of this like whole bunch of people, once you will lead them all, they will want to work with you further to get to the pinnacle of their leadership performance, where they will start developing these leaders themselves. They will learn a lot from you, and they will start learning, teaching others. So if anything that you will take out from these slides that I showed, these stories that I told, is that each person is a separate story. They are all on different levels of leadership. You have different influence on all these people. And number two, if you carefully get through all these ideas, all these slides, and analyze what's happening, what's the dynamics, and what you can actually implement in the real world, you will end up that the most efficient way, long term, with lots of options and possibilities, is actually this one, like helps with career development. That's the number one strategy that I recommend to all my students and members of my career accelerator, that the best way to motivate people to develop them as leaders who will help them to delegate all the responsibilities to these is to help them with their career development. They will be motivated to do the work, additional responsibilities. They will be motivated to get all those benefits from the company and build their careers. And as a result, they will be your best champions. They will take up some work from you. They will help you. They will help overcome resistance from other people whenever you need to introduce a change, and so on and so on. All right, that's like a short introduction in 20 minutes into leadership for project managers, specifically for IT industry. But I would like to remind you that this is a live Q&A session. So going from this moment, I'll be answering your questions. So if you have questions on leadership, motivation, how to lead a team, how to navigate difficult topics or scenarios in the team, write them in the comments. I will answer them one by one. And while you do this, I'll give you just a moment. Let me tell you about the upcoming workshop, because time flies and it's like at the end of September we're getting into this crazy, huge workshop, this event where for 3 days I will be sharing my all my knowledge about career development for project managers. We'll be talking about resumes, how to gain experience, how to describe this experience, and I will share a repeatable uh, career development framework that you will use from this moment until the end of your career. It will be a cyclic way to always get what you want from your career, always get the better projects, get more experience, get better salary, whatever your goal is. Actually, you can identify it yourself. So if you're interested, there is a this barcode thing at the top. There is a link in the description. Register. It's free of charge. Just I'll be sharing my experience, my insights into the career development for project managers. All right, so let's get started with comments. So I will start with the wait, I'm sorry if I ruined your name and if I pronounce it correctly. So is there a difference between project management between public and private sector? Yes, I would say we should think like if we're project managers, there would be maybe three even different areas where you will work, like private sector, public sector, and freelancers, like projects with full teams of freelancers. I define these like three areas, especially Like again, I'm talking mostly about IT industry. So think about it. In public areas, usually like governments and like government institutions, they don't have the budgets or incomes to hire the best talent, and they don't have uh, the marketing side of their business to show that this is a very great opportunity to work with us and get the experience and get the recommendations after that. Usually it's like they try to get whoever will get there. Maybe like North America, US, Canada, there are some better opportunities like Europe and other places in the world. They're not very fun to work in. So in there, you should understand that your ability to like influence the career development motivation will be very limited because of strict uh, limitations, strict policies and rules. So you'll have to focus more on other aspects, other needs and values that people have. Things like better work-life balance. You will work 9 to 5 and it will be happy environment without stress or something like that. Or they will gain experience and you will help them to build their career from the starting point. Now when you go into the private sector, like private IT, big companies or startups or outsourcing companies, people go there for money and they come there like for many different reasons, but they come for money, for status, for titles, and stuff like that. And some of them, maybe at the like peak of their career, they land into a startup or some great company with culture which they like, and like they combine it with high salaries. The challenge there is that again, like you may get into these high end situations where you have top talents, highly paid, highly educated. Now they need something else, something outside of work or outside of the main line of work to get motivation from. And usually in these cases, like when you have top end projects, top end talents, you start mostly delegating responsibilities for whole deliverables, whole parts of the project. So you, rather than managing a team, you start managing sub teams through these top talents. And the way you give them more freedom motivates them to do their best to implement the best solutions while leading less experienced people. On this scale, like below that, there is a whole a range of possibilities where you will lead from entry level engineers to high end engineers in different companies, but it will be a mix. In this case, you have much more opportunities because low end, like entry level, people will need this recognition, support, coaching, and so on. That's your motivation there. High end people will get a bit of recognition and motivation through this, again, principle of getting the freedom to express their knowledge and skills. The most challenging, as for me, is the work in projects where you have a team full of freelancers, where you don't control their careers, you control only their work. In this case, the motivation, like strategy, at least for me, looks like showing them the best way to do their work so that they can have more time, more freedom, and less stress. And basically, it boils down to allowing them to do the breakdown of all the tasks, all the work, do the estimations as they see fit, with just little correction from your side, where maybe you just separate their uncertainties and risks and into risks, and you allow them to take enough time for that. That will motivate them because they are freelancers. They value not so much money as freedom. So just completely different area of uh, motivation and leadership in that space. I hope I answered this question enough. All right. So let me see what's next. I am Canadian citizen with master degree in PMP certificate who is seeking for an IT project manager job in the United States. Any guidance as to which platform I can get such job? Okay, Abdul, this is not a leadership question. We had a career development session like that. If you look at my channel, you will find a replay of live stream where I answered a lot of such questions. And maybe it's worth for you to spend time there and find the answer, because in short version you just need a better resume. Like this is I can, like, without any more details, I can say your current resume sucks and you just need a better one. You can again search my channel. There is a video on how I recommend to structure a project manager's resume with experience. If you have experience, you have PMP, you can do that. All right, let's move on. I hope the how do you approach someone who is not constructive or even reluctant working in a team? Jill, Jill, I sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I must probably ruined it, but that's a great question. That's a very typical situation. So, what you should do depends on how valuable this person is and how toxic this person is. So, let's break it down. If he's like a top performer, this is a star engineer or star person, like whatever industry we're talking in, uh, you want to keep them. If you lose this person, then that would be a hit, an impact. You don't want that. Then you should think about separating this person from the team and treating them as a freelancer again. And then we are just kicking in all the things that I talked about before. You want to treat them as a separate unit, give them responsibilities, give them a clear way to communicate with you, and maybe limit interaction with the team. Until that moment where you can organize the work in such a way that this person is still the top performer. If their performance go beyond some line where they're like, it's just not cost efficient to treat them separately, you will let them go. So if they are toxic and the whole team is suffering from that, because it's not just reluctant to work with, but it's unconstructive, it's like damaging in some aspects, then you will use the general idea, the general framework that I will explain in a minute. And so this is only applies if this is a top talent. If it's not a top talent, it's an average guy or even entry level guy, you will automatically go into the framework. So the idea is that you give them free chances to make amends. So every time you see these unconstructive conversations or reluctance to communicate with the team, it's like a conflict. You should, in your brain, it should be nothing else as a conflict, and you apply the general conflict resolution techniques. First, you initiate a conversation one on one. You directly say, "Hey, I see you were unconstructive. You don't want, like, or you didn't communicate with the team enough. So, what's going on? Tell me what's the reason." And again, the best way to get to the root cause, because in conflict resolution, people don't tell you what's the real reason behind the conflict. They start with some bullshit like, "I don't know, they're stupid, like they're just holding me back." Okay, why? There was something that this John said, and he just didn't like, doesn't know anything about this area, but he has such a strong opinion and so on. I don't want to deal with it. All right, but why did you even bother to get into this conversation? I don't know. Like, I just started the conversation and I didn't want to uh, get out of this conversation without being the right guy. And it's going and on and on until you get to the root cause where, I don't know, like, I don't feel confident or something like that. I feel like I'm losing the grip. Then you try to resolve that conflict. If there is no conflict, it's just like there are cases when this person is just a jerk and you cannot do anything about it. And if they are not valuable to the team, you give them a chance to make amends. If it doesn't happen, you do it the second time. On the third time, you give them a warning, like say, okay, I gave you 3 attempts already, it's a third one. If nothing happens after that, I will initiate the performance review. I will go to our manager, and I will be moving you out of the project at the very least. If we can't find you a better place, we'll just fire you. Obviously, you need to work this through with your boss or decision maker if you cannot fire this person yourself. Obviously, once the third time happens, nothing changes, you initiate this review or termination or whatever it takes. I don't recommend you guys to suffer through such people. Everyone in the team, like, we should understand that even in IT, if even with the top talents, they should have some kind of work ethics, and they should respect other team members to bare minimum. If they don't, well, believe me, in most cases, it's better off without them. If you can, fire them. If you cannot, ask to move them to another team, find another person. All right, that's basically the workflow. 3 falls. If nothing happens, if no changes, no amends, fire them, move them to other teams. I don't recommend raising this fire or termination of the contract until you ended up with all solutions. And I see that often that moving people to another team can work out for everyone, because maybe there is some different team dynamics. There might be some more experienced people in other team where this person will be more humble or more cooperative. So I always recommend starting, like if it's a big company, starting with, let's just relocate you to another project. All right. One more thing for you to consider, because this can be a situation where you said, they said, another person said, and like it's just about opinions and no facts. If you want to make this really effective, you need to keep a document which I call the issue log, where you log all these instances where you saw unconstructive collaboration, reluctance, or unethical work. You log it. You log all your actions that you did, like ideally on that day, how you communicate. So you have the log of all interactions with this person about all these issues. And when the time comes to the review and say like, you didn't perform. No, I did perform. I talked with people, blah, blah, blah. I didn't say anything offensive. And you show the log. Okay, I have all these logged. You are not telling the truth. I have the facts here. Then it becomes much easier. All right, I hope that helps. Let's move on. How can we better handle conflicts between senior engineers and between senior and junior engineers? Do we need to document these for future reference? Just like I said a moment before, yes, ideally you want to keep this issue log for your reference. You don't show it like to anyone until it's like a moment when you need to prove your point. And even in those situations, you show it just to your boss and you don't share it publicly. So just keep in mind it's a bit sensitive information and you don't want to spread it across the whole company. So how the best to handle the conflict? Again, it all boils down to identifying the root cause of the problem. And the main rule here is that people will never tell you the real root cause of the problem as the first argument. They will be talking about things like they don't understand me, they don't listen to me, if we're talking about senior and junior project manager, senior and junior engineer, or like they are just like they put attention to small things and stuff like that. When you unwrap this, you will often find that either like your senior engineer doesn't have enough soft skills or they don't want to escalate this, but there is a real problem that, for example, that junior engineer is not very skilled and they just found like wrong words to communicate that, and they said like he doesn't know, he doesn't want to work, he doesn't want to learn, and this is a skill problem. Then you need to like try to help them to work this through, but only after you find out the real root cause of this conflict. What's the underlying reason for the conflict? Because if, for example, the junior engineer, they complain that senior engineer doesn't want to review my commits or doesn't accept them, writes a lot of comments. Then you start digging deeper into why this happens, and there might be like, okay, I've provided some feedback, there is guidelines, this guy doesn't want to follow them. Why doesn't he want to follow them? Well, as the story unfolds, it appears that that guy didn't know that we have guidelines, and that's the root cause. And initially junior guy thought that, okay, they're just like, think I'm junior, I don't know anything, but we had guidelines which you didn't know. So dig very deep into the root cause. When there is a conflict between senior engineers, it's the same story. The only thing that you must be very attentive is about egos, because quite often the resolution of the conflict will have a lot of, I would say, logical things, logical arguments that will like make one of them correct or wrong, but you will not, or you will specifically hurt their ego in the process. So whenever you think about conflict resolution between two engineers, you find the root cause. Then you try to find the best solution so that everyone has an exit strategy to save their face. It's like saying that the best strategy is this. Do you both agree? And they like, yeah, we agree this, and there should be some compromise in the middle of how they come up to this solution. I hope that makes sense. It's just always think about the outcome, not only from the best possible solution for the project and the team in general, but also how hurtful it is for one of these senior engineers to accept someone's like point. Uh, in most cases, you don't do it publicly. Again, like if you have two senior engineers with some authority, then you just need to make it a private conflict resolution session. All right, these are great questions, guys. I really like what we're going through here. Let's move on. So, Hemant. Again, sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly. As a contractor ITPM, you have limited spread of authorities when it comes to motivate your team because their role and individual career profession is decided by their functional and full-time leads. Yes? Okay, good question. In this case, like this is the environment and policy area. You must learn as a contractor even how do they get those promotions, how do they get the reviews, and so on and so on. And even if there is a like career professional conversations between this engineer and their team lead or functional manager, then in this case, this functional manager or full-time lead, they are your key stakeholders. So what you want to do is, first of all, build a relationship with these people, understand the HR processes that lead to career development, and then try to influence this career progression, career plan that you can suggest. And I would say the main idea that I learned throughout this time is that most companies build these career progression reviews and all the performance reviews processes based on the feedback. And feedback from someone detached from the team, someone outside of the team, is more valuable than from team leaders. So if there is a possibility, you should learn that Can I provide feedback to my team members and can it be like influential on their performance? If yes, that's your strategy. You say, okay, guys, you can like follow your progression. You can do some stuff additionally for me, for our project. And as a result, I'll be able to provide some feedback and it will be influence on your overall performance review. So you have to play around. Basically, in any strategy related to career development, you should always start from with learning the processes and workflows and policies that HR department has as it relates to reviews. And you need to find ways to influence those reviews. By the way, whenever we talk about leadership, that's maybe a critical point to make this note. Uh, there, there are situations, there are possible situations where there's nothing you can do, and you have to try your best. You cannot influence what I mean. You cannot influence the processes. You have no impact on the decision makers and stuff like that. Then you operate just on a lower level of these motivational layers where you cannot develop their career, but at least you can help them to do their work more productively. You can be a person who is caring about their work-life balance, a person who can help them actually perform their work by providing clear instructions, clear requirements, assigning tasks directly or stuff like that. So if you cannot move to that high level impactful strategies of leadership and motivation, it doesn't mean that you should like stop doing everything. Instead, you just go to the lower levels. They are less efficient. They are more time consuming because you need to like do it daily in most cases, but you still keep doing what you do. Because even if you can't, for example, if you can't directly provide the feedback for the person on their career progression, you can coach them on how to achieve those results. You can coach them how to do their work more productively, for example, teaching them productivity tricks from your project management experience, so that they have time and energy to like generate this additional value that will make their career progression faster. All right. Guys, for those of you who just joined or joined later, I would like to remind you that at the end of September, I'll be running a very unique event, 3 days workshop, where I will share all the insights that I learned about career development for project managers, including how to write a resume, how to build your identity as a senior level project manager, how to describe your experience in the resume, how to develop your own professional development plan, which will lead to higher roles, higher salaries, bigger impact that you have on people. And one thing that I want to say that your title, even if it's like on the lowest level, even if it's like the bottom of the motivation and leadership hierarchy, it has an effect at senior levels, because when a senior project manager says what we must do, people start listening. When a senior technical program manager comes to the group, then people start waiting for your solutions. That's where the real impact of our profession comes from. So if you are stuck running small projects, like in bulk, you have 5, 7, 8 projects at the same time, this workshop is for you. So there is a barcode, there is a link in the description. Use it, register right now, and I'll notify you about the upcoming workshop days. All right, let's move on. Okay, what do we have next? Guys, okay, I need insights, ticket system, how to manage when getting multiple tickets with high priority at the same time. Okay, this is not a leadership. I will skip it. If we have time at the end, I'll go back to this question. Go up, okay? All right. Yoda. Yoda. Sorry, guys, I'm really bad at these names, but I hope I at least closely pronounce it well. Hello, Guru. I'm not Guru, I'm Manta at, at most, but thank you so much. I joined late. What's the conclusion? Friends or no friends? I make friendly relationship if I can else remain indifferent. Okay, by the way, that's a great question, and maybe that's something I should address right from the beginning. As I said, like on the banner, you should not be a friend to your team. And I still think that's true even after whatever we talked about here. There is a difference between building a friendly environment where people feel safe, where they feel safe to get feedback, where they can spend time having fun, where the work is fun. That's, I think that's a must. But you specifically should not be a close friend to any of your team members. You should be their coach and mentor. And there is no way to combine friend and coach for one big reason. You like when you're friends, you allow your friends to lie, you allow them to exaggerate, and you forgive a lot of things because you value your friendship for some other reasons, and you just don't want to lose this connection, this bond, this person in general. And when you are a mentor, you're like, or a coach or career coach, whatever, your main responsibility is to challenge those people to do better than they did before. You challenge them to be the best version of themselves as professionals. It doesn't mean that they should work hard. I just want to clarify. It doesn't mean that they should like sell their soul just for the work, but overall, you will be challenging them all the time to do better in aspects that they value, either in their professional life or in personal life. And you cannot do that with friends because sometimes you'll have to say a lot of truth about their work. You need to provide honest feedback, and you need to push them. And sometimes it means that you will push them as a manager, as a project manager. You will challenge their like beliefs, you will challenge their weak points, and stuff like that. And the problem is that it's very hard to be very honest with friends and do that all that stuff uh, very efficiently. So my recommendation is that yes, build friendly environments, let your team bond, let them have fun, but you stay one step aside as a, I don't know, as a Yoda, as a coach. So if you remember Star Wars, Yoda wasn't a friend to anyone. He was the best of those people or creatures, but he wasn't connected very closely to anyone. All right. I hope that helps. That answers the main question of this live stream. I'm PMP over 23 years of PM experience. However, when I apply to specific job, there are already 500 to 3,000 applications, not getting any calls for interviews. Please guide. So that's a good point. I will tell you once again, man, you should join this workshop. If you haven't registered yet, join it. I will teach you how to do exactly that. I will repeat this. Sorry, your resume doesn't work. Sorry, you don't show your experience, your achievements in your resume from 23 years. And most probably, you show a weak identity through all the content that you have inside your resume. So recruiters just see that you are not a good fit. And yes, there is some problem with the game of numbers where you have like these thousands of people and just mathematically you might be like you just don't get into the recruiter's attention. But I can guarantee that it's not a bottleneck in your case. Most probably recruiters do see your resume, but they don't selected for a good reason. So please join. I'll be glad to help you on the workshop. All right, let's move on. As an IT PM, how to handle vendors who are reluctant to fix their issues and pushing fixes to IT department that may or may not be able to fix the issues. Vendors are refusing to take responsibility. Okay, whenever it comes to vendors, there is, I would say, little you can do from leadership perspective. Like you can try to instill the feeling of responsibility, and there are some techniques where you will explain how responsibility works, show them where they are not actually doing responsible things. But at the end of the day, you need to understand, like if you are working with vendors in IT industry, it's just an outsourcing company, and you work most probably with other project manager who has a team, but you don't work with the CEO of this company who is making decisions. So the project manager has their career insecurities if they accept or spend extra resources on your issues. So in this case, most probably the solution lies in stricter contracts and clauses and something that tells that they are responsible for bug fixing, maintenance, at least for a certain period of time. Uh, for example, there might be clauses that say, okay, if we find a defect or end users find a defect in production, and there is no such test case that covers this case, this bug is on you. You missed it. You didn't cover all the use cases of the feature. Then you put it into the contract, and you just point to those clauses and make them fix that. On a high level leadership, if you can influence your boss, if you can influence their boss on like vendor side, high level executives, you just need to come to a better terms when you are not squeezing all the efforts from them, because most probably the case is that you are underpaying them. They still accept the work, they still do it, but they spend all the budget just to perform the main tasks, and they have no budget to cover up all the other expenses, especially these long-term responsibilities. Other way, if there is a clause in the contract, if there is some binding rules for them to fix those, then you need to work one-on-one with the project manager or the like decision maker on that side of the vendor, and you try to explain them why it's a good thing to help you, and so on and so on, aiming at long-term relationships. That's probably the best thing that you can do. But again, you should spend your leadership efforts on working with your managers and your legal teams to craft a better contract and better terms for these vendors. All right. Can you expand on extreme delegation? How the workflow? All right, that's a great question, Gleb. So extreme delegation, like the idea is that you delegate everything you can except project management framework, leadership for your team, and keeping your customers, clients, and key stakeholders happy. What it means is that basically, if we talk about IT department, you can take any team and break it into sub-teams: quality assurance team, backend team, front-end team, mobile team, whatever you have, DevOps maybe. Then you identify one leader in that team. It's either a team leader who has the title, or it's an official leader who has the ambitions to develop their career, and they may be an official leader of that group. Next, you identify all the work that you do, but you don't want to do. Like this is an exercise of it feels a bit weird because you are paid for performing some responsibilities, but in essence, that's not truth. Uh, in essence, you're paid to organize the work. And it doesn't matter if you do the work or others do the work and you deliver the results. And no one complains, obviously. And this exercise is to actually think about all the manual work, all the repeating work that you can delegate to these team leaders. That's layer number one. Second layer is that you can delegate the whole responsibility for delivering or creating a solution, either for the project, a project deliverable, or as an improvement of the process. And basically, like for if you connect all the dots between what we talked about earlier, for career development purposes and setting the goals, you should always run one, maybe two, three initiatives to improve project management process. For example, your QA team may work on a better way to organize their defects, to prioritize them, categorize them, maybe have a way to scale the plan. So that's an initiative that your team leader will do. Then reporting. You are collecting a lot of data, you put them on slide decks or in any other form. Then you can break this into some sections and give certain slides to certain team leaders, because basically that's the same information that the whole team shares. Then you deliver the report yourself. Uh, Performance reviews, again, or even development plans. If you have a strong team leader, they can follow your advice, follow your like approach, and work with team members to identify the goals, follow the goals, do the feedback sessions every week, and so on. This way, you don't need to have these feedback one-on-ones with 20 people, for example. You do it only with team members, like 4 people each week, not a big deal. And each team leader has 4 or like more or less people under their supervision whom they perform these one-on-ones. And this goes on and on and on until you like sitting on your project and you have nothing to do and you are thinking, okay, what can I do to make this project like work faster, avoid some defects, avoid some problems? That's when you know you delegated enough. But you don't stop here because projects move on, different phases, blah blah blah. You have you will have new things that you can delegate, improve, and so on. So basically, any routine work and any improvements should be delegated to other team members. So if you ask me how to delegate, I think that's another live session for another hour to talk just to how to properly delegate. So I assume you will do your research on proper delegation process. All right, let's try to move on. Ooh, how to delegate? Sorry, are there different styles of delegation? All right, I think I'll have to talk a bit about it. Um, so, all right, there are like no really many different styles of delegations. There are mostly like the depth or specificity of delegations, and maybe there are styles in terms of how you communicate the information related to delegation. Uh, Basically, in project environment, you will have two types of delegation that I can imagine. So the first one is when you delegate a routine responsibility. In this case, I recommend that you create a document, step-by-step instructions that even a like unexperienced person can do just by clicking the right links, entering the right information, and getting all the right steps. This is like instruction based delegation where you create instruction and you can give it to anyone can perform those steps and provide you the expected result. Then there is a delegation of the result or a solution. In this case, the best practice of delegation is that you become a, like, if we are talking again as an IT project manager, you become a product manager or product owner, and you start talking not about the final outcome that you want to achieve. You start talking in requirements. Like, again, if we are going back to quality assurance, for example, hey, yeah, like every at the end of the project we need to produce a quality assurance report, and it should include all our test cases, all our test plans, all known defects, some statistics, coverage, whatever like goes there, and you start piling up those requirements. But you don't tell how to implement this, because basically there are hundreds of ways you can do it. You can copy all this information manually, you can export them into Excel, you can export in PDF, multiple solutions. There might be some automations to do this, and so on. So you leave this part, like execution part, for the person who will do the work. You stay focused on the final outcome, so you want to get a report that corresponds to all the requirements that you set. Next, you will set some deadlines or checkpoints where you will have where you expect some progress. Uh, and recommendation here is that you shouldn't have just one deadline. There should be feedback points where you can review and provide some feedback. Next, uh, you should be available. Like, okay, you give the instructions, like you gave the requirements to the final product or solution that you want to get. Next, you start working, but you should be available to provide some inputs, additional inputs, because people will start researching, they start getting some results, they want to get some feedback from you. And this is critical that you don't leave them alone there, at least during this like first few times when you delegate. You should be ready to answer those questions or work them out together. And if you don't know the answers, then you say, okay, please provide me one, two, three solutions that you see with benefits. We'll select them based on some criteria. Next, you should provide feedback constantly. Like on those checkpoints, you will review the progress in general, you provide feedback, and you continue work. This is your opportunities to adjust the final result. And by the way, you should be very clear that you can adjust and should adjust, and you will adjust it on the go, because this frustrates people a lot when you continuously change your requirements. And then, like, this is the cyclic progress where you go through checkpoints, see what was done, adjust the requirements, provide feedback, praise the good things, praise what cannot be can be improved. And sometimes, especially when it gets to the process improvements in the teams, should be also very careful about the additional trainings or skills that this person needs to have. Because again, in this example, if we are changing the process of creating the final report for QA team, then the whole team should participate. And this means that this person who is implementing this change, they will have to do the change management process for this small team. They will have to overcome resistance. They have to sell the benefits of a new solution. They will have to do a lot of communication, conflict management. So you should think about that and provide either the trainings or refreshers from your experience. Like, you don't need to pay for the training. In this case, you can just give a lecture to this person about best practices of conflict resolution, of communication, and stuff like that. At the end, review the progress, give praises, put it into the review for this person on their performance, and find out the next good thing to delegate. Well, this is the basic part. Inside each step, there might be a lot of cases, different scenarios, so it all depends on the situation after that. But all the principles that we discussed so far, they apply here as well. All right. Okay, thanks for useful answers. You're welcome. Please, can I find the link to register? Which register? Stakeholder register? Okay, I'll wait. Please, where is the link for the register for? Oh, okay. The link for the register, it's below this video in the description. Or you can just scan this barcode in the corner with your phone. Or you can go to itpmschool.com/workshop. It's a direct link if you want. Let me just type it for you guys. itpmschool.com/workshop. I hope this works. This is the link. Okay, I spelled it incorrectly. Ignore it, please. My bad. I should better take the link from my site directly. This is the right link. All right. Let me see a few last questions. Oops, we don't want it here. We want it here. All right, guys, under deadline pressure, how will you recognize and reward the team efforts and progress during this intense period? All right, basically, when it comes to recognition, you have multiple options. But what I recommend, you should always praise and provide feedback on the spot. If someone worked hard last day, like last night, or fixed some defect or finished the work under pressure, you praise them on the meeting, unless this is a highly introverted person who hates that. But in general, most people will be good with it. Second, overall strategy, like it's a long-term strategy, go to your boss, go to your decision makers, HR, whatever, find out a way to get some extra money for some things that you can buy to show them that you value them as a reward, or you can actually provide this as a bonus. There are a lot of like underwater rocks here. You should be very careful as how you allocate those bonuses. There should be transparent rules about it, or something like that. The easiest way here is that, all right, you can basically, if there is like you work in such a company that doesn't provide you any means, any money, any bonuses, anything for team building activities, like zero. They're completely uh, Scrooge McDuck mode here. So in this case, the simplest way is that you can start like, and ideally you started before these pressure moments. Uh, Start the team building activities that you pay for, and basically as a project manager, you can like make the share of it a bit bigger by, I don't know, buying some I don't know, something for the team that they value, either alcohol or some treats or something that you will take out of your pocket. It shouldn't be very expensive, but it's just showing that you appreciate them. Basically, that might be enough in most cases, unless they're very spoiled. Because when we talk about recognition, it's really recognition that comes through the very specific praise for very specific effort that they make. And if there is an established process for rewarding or paying the bonuses or providing some gifts, you should just follow up on this process and make sure that it's a repeatable, transparent process for everyone, and it's a fair process. After that, basically, what I recommend is that next time you talk about their career development, you review their professional development plan, you also write it down into their development plan as an achievement that they had worked really hard during that period. So it's a bonus point for the future review. All right, let's move on. few more questions and we'll be wrapping up. There are many areas which get highlighted after the project is started. Those are tasks are not considered in time. This usually delays the project. How to ensure that all things are cleared at start? Okay, not a leadership project. Let me see if there is any other leadership question. Then I can answer. Okay, I can see that. Okay, this will be the last question. So, what's the strategy here in general in project management ideas? First of all, if we're talking about tasks and you are saying like, okay, we didn't identify some tasks, it sounds to me like it's a very small project and you just didn't do enough due diligence to break those tasks down and think about it. Because in like bigger world, in my world, we are talking about big deliverables that we may missed, and it's a big piece of work that impacts like the whole project, either with the extra resources that we don't have, or even it makes it impossible. So I want to clarify it. If this is a deliverables level problem, like you missed to identify a big piece of work, then the solution here is usually is that you just need more time. You just need more time for scope management, for requirements management. And in this case, few things will help you, even if it's an IT project. First of all, work breakdown structure. Like you need to think in terms of deliverables again. You need to think about what you need to produce to hand off these results to the customer. And this boils down to knowing where to look for deliverables. And there are like, I don't know, 10 sources that I can mention. Maybe it's a project life cycle, it's a architectural diagram that you probably should create as well, which will tell you about all the pieces, all the connections in the IT infrastructure. You should look into project management documentation that you must provide for the customers as a deliverable. You should also think about integration of this project into one product. You should think about a deliverable which like is the final product that we moved to the production environment. Some quality assurance reports and some extra activities that might be required, and so on and so on. So if you are missing out big pieces, then work breakdown structure, and before that, some form of the project charter to ensure that customers spell out all the expected major pieces that they want to get from the project. Now, if you are talking about real tasks, like you have a small piece of work, you break it down into the tasks, and then you estimate them, and you missed one or two tasks. And in this case, if you are estimating it and do the risk management efforts to such a degree that adding just a few tasks breaks the whole project schedule, you are not managing the project correctly. I mean, project schedule correctly, because your schedule should be flexible to some extent. So if something, because the idea is that when you estimate, there will be tasks that you will do faster, there will be tasks that you will do on time, and there will be tasks that will take more time. But in general, like on a long-term project, it will level up and you will end up around the estimate. Now, if you do it correctly, you will have additionally the risk management buffer or risk management reserve that you will use for very specific risks and tasks. And in your case, I assume that most probably these tasks are either some risks or you just need to break you just need to break those tasks into smaller pieces. Okay, just to finalize my thought, I understand that I most probably jumped the conclusion here. So when you have the proper estimation and you have the reserves, missing tasks will just bounce a project schedule a bit, But again, by the end of the project, if the trend is not showing that you are going over the schedule, you will get into the point. So the main recommendation for you for smaller projects is to estimate like more pessimistically, add more buffers to your tasks, and ensure that you have the clear definition of done for those tasks. All right, guys, I think we are more than enough for today. We have spent an hour and 20 minutes already. I've answered quite a few questions. My throat is getting to the limit already. So I would like to thank you all for this great time. And next week, we'll have a special live stream because I will be reviewing resumes, real resumes that my subscribers, my people, my audience send me for review. And I will be showing the mistakes, the problems that appear in those resumes that are holding you back. So I invite you all for that session. Same time next week. And I'll see you around. Don't forget to register for the